officially call this meeting to order. We are here to engage in a community-led process that we believe can lead to meaningful recommendations for reform and alternatives to policing in our community. There are translation services available in Spanish for this meeting. Please click the language at the bottom of the screen if you're an English or a Spanish speaker. And if you have any trouble accessing the translation services, please call Lori Valdez. Her number is on the screen. It is 408-661-1804. She'll be able to help you with translation. And I'd also like to pass over the mic to our meeting translators to introduce themselves. If they can do that, I'm not too sure.
Yes, go ahead.
Are there translators here, or should I keep going? Okay, I'll just keep going. The next slide. So if you were nominated to serve on this committee by an organization, you should receive an invitation to be moved up to panelist. If you are not currently a panelist, you can raise your hand and the moderators of the Zoom will bump you to panelist. So if you have some time, please do that now. I'll give this just a second. Oh, Jacqueline, I see you have your hand up.
I thought you were just saying if I was not a panelist to raise my hand.
Right, yes, that is what it was.
Okay, okay. Can I lower it?
Yes. Okay, let's move on. If you have any suggestions on how to make this meeting more accessible, please email Chris Logan, and his email is right there. I'd like to do a land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that we host this meeting on the lands of the Muwekma Ohlone people who have stewarded this land through these generations. We commit ourselves to partner with our Indigenous sisters and brothers to celebrate and honor their legacy in our collective work for justice and our care for these lands we benefit from today. I'd like to introduce our speaker. Our next presenter will request to include testimony within his presentation time. So without objection, we will turn it over to Chad from Destination Home to present on public safety in the unhoused community. Chad, please take it away.
Thank you, Kiana. Good morning, everybody. I'm Chad Bojorquez. I'm with Destination Home, as well as the Lived Experience Advisory Board, which frankly is probably more of the reason I'm here today, which is to try to bring the voice and perspective of people with lived experience of homelessness to this table. We have had such incredible presentations over the last few months, and so I will preface by saying that what I want to share today is really just scratching the surface. There's so much information out there around the experience of homeless individuals and the criminal justice system. And I have never done a presentation on this topic so focused before. So forgive me that a lot of the information and the kind of ideas that I want to talk about are relatively new for me to share. But I feel like this is a safe place to do it. I think we're all on the same page and trying to have the same goal. So, and I'm also joined by two guests, which I will introduce here shortly. And I want to make sure that really the core of the time this morning is hearing from them and hearing experiences. We can boil it down and figure out what to do about it later on paper, et cetera. So, so I'm going to share just a few slides very briefly. They're kind of packed with information, but I wanted to have some launching off points. So one moment, please. Can someone please give me like a thumbs up if they can see the presentation? Thank you. Great. So as mentioned, the topic today is essentially the criminalization of homelessness. And I did add both the Destination Home website and the LEAB website at the bottom of this slide. And I'll be sending these slides to Chris afterward. And I'm going to have an additional slide that'll be a lot of reference links. As I mentioned, there's such incredible information and a body of work around the research of the impacts of criminal justice on homeless individuals. And so I want to share that with everybody. So I think essentially the theme of this presentation is that unhoused individuals are criminalized, become criminals in our society, in our perception of society, just for being homeless, just for existing outside and not having a home. And I think that some information that I think is also critical to share about the experience in Santa Clara County specifically is that individuals who share information with us as a system as a whole, approximately 75% of individuals report a history of criminal justice, that have a record, have criminal records, have had interactions with law enforcement and criminal histories of all varieties. But just to kind of set a baseline, this is a vast majority of people who are homeless in Santa Clara County. And then furthermore, I think really important, we did a study at Destination Home a couple of years back to look at the effect, the intersection of race, ethnicity, and homelessness. And it's very stark, the disproportionalities of who's homeless in Santa Clara County. It's up on the screen, but I think it's worth mentioning, that the general population in Santa Clara County is 2.5% Black or African American, almost 17% of the homeless population. That's here in Santa Clara County, where we have perceptions that we're more equitable, et cetera, and just, continues across the board. And so if we think that, or if we know that 75%, at least, probably underreported, right, self-reported, of 75% of individuals have criminal history, then we can automatically assume that that's going to be disproportionately impacting people of color. And I think that's the main point I want to make here. So there's a lot of information on this slide, and I'll try to walk through it. But I found this quote from one of the source materials, an attorney that's kind of an expert in the criminalization of homelessness, Professor Rankin, a professor. There's an attorney I'm going to mention later. But she sums it up. She says, criminalizing homelessness is shown to be the least effective and most expensive way of managing homelessness. Yet we continue to do it. We do more and more of it. The laws that are in place to criminalize people who are unhoused are similar to Jim Crow laws, vagrancy laws, anti-Okie laws, ugly and sundown town laws. You hear those names and you're like, oh, those are old and we've gotten past those. We haven't. It's just taken on a different form, and it doesn't have a fancy name that we have in history books. I put some basic things that are illegal today in San Jose, California. Camping, sitting, lying down in certain places, loitering, begging. And then I think the last one, is one where, this is where you get some controversy when you talk about it, but, trespassing, but it's like trespassing on public lands, for example, or littering by nature of, I live in an encampment and there's garbage around me. Addressing basic needs in public, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the solutions later. But people have to go to the bathroom somewhere, people have to eat, etc. And drug possession. And I think that these are things that people possess while they're housed all the time, but when you're outdoors, it becomes a criminal offense. Another study that we did, and a kind of a theme or a way that Destination Home tries to set a baseline for addressing issues and starting to build strategies, is to kind of do data and research and kind of really look at information as a catalyst. So in 2015, Destination Home and a bunch of partners did a really extensive study about the costs of homelessness called Home Not Found. And a staggering amount of money is spent annually on homelessness. And 34% of those costs are specifically related to the criminal justice related costs. So I thought that was, worth calling out here. And then just kind of to bring it to like a personal story, an individual who's working with our Lived Experience Advisory Board, which is an organized body of people who all have lived experience. I'm one of the founding members. Lived experience with homelessness or housing instability. This individual is not speaking today, but I thought this was just like so, sums it up, and it's such a common experience. He said, I picked up 35 arrests and 29 misdemeanors in about a 3 to 4 year span of being unhoused. And so that's just like a very common experience. So I want to pause and I want to take time to hear from some colleagues of mine that I'm really excited to share with you all and introduce. And so we wanted to do like just kind of like a little bit of a very casual interview style. So I'm going to ask some questions, just kind of as prompt, and we have limited time, so we want to be efficient, but I'm super excited to introduce you now to first guest, Marcelina. Hi, Marcelina. And I just wanted to first say, please, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Marcelina. I go by Penelope because I was in a domestic violence situation. I was homeless for quite a lot of years. I recently became housed at Second Street Studios. I have a nonprofit, and I'd like to be working as an advocate for homeless people, because once you get stuck in you just get stuck. It's hard to get out of being homeless, and I'd like to help individuals personally. Yeah, that situation that I was in.
Thank you so much. What was experience with law enforcement while you were unhoused?
Like I said, I had eventually ended up living at an encampment, which I thought that would never occur. And this was over on Berry SN 680. And I was in a domestic violence relationship at the time. I got no support from the police. I would call the police because I would need help because I was being assaulted. The police did not want to come out to the encampment to help. They, at one point when a knife was even banished on me, they asked me if I could meet them at a Taco Bell. Another incident, I was walking over various overpass, and my boyfriend at the time had just attacked me, and he was making me go with him someplace. I was hoping a police officer would pass so I could flag him down to get help. And I was able to flag down a cop, and he pulled over. The first thing I noticed about this police officer that he had 4 stripes on his sleeve. And I asked him, he just assaulted me and attacked me, and now he's making me go somewhere. Can you help me? And the cop said to me, have you called the police? I said, I just called the police. I'm calling you. This is what I'm doing. And he told me he was on another call. I said, no, you're not. But first he looked at me, and I'll never forget his expression. And he looked at my boyfriend at the time, and it was clearly he just didn't want to be bothered with paperwork or wanted to be. And I was crushed. I'd have to say at that point in time, I truly gave up on reaching out to the police for assistance in my situation. I was devastated, and he drove away, and needless to say, I got my butt kicked for that one. I didn't have good experience with the police at all. I tried to reach out to them for assistance, and they were not available because I was homeless in an encampment, which they did not want to go down to assist me at.
In your experience, how has race or ethnicity been a factor in your interactions with law enforcement?
I think not only race, the color of my skin, but my appearance judgment is passed quite quickly. I remember, this is funny. It's not really funny. It's really sad, but I have a sense of humor with my colorful life. I was driving on a suspended license, and I was getting off of onto the freeway, and I got pulled over for driving on a suspended license. And when this is a highway patrol, mind you, he pulled us over right where Coles is. I had to get off the freeway, and he arrested me and let my boyfriend go. And I didn't want to had to say, and I know this was due to my appearance, of course. He had judged me immediately by my appearance, by the way I looked. I didn't have a chance on that. Being homeless, I mean, I imagine the neighborhood, you're stigmatized by that. And you would think that the police would be a little bit more understanding or supportive. I remember experiencing a lot of harassment, unnecessary harassment. One time, and they kept me on the side of the road by Penitencia Creek Park. They kept me on the side of the road for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, just running my VIN and running my name. And nothing was coming up. I said, what is the problem? I was walking to my car. But we know you live over there. Yeah, but I'm not doing nothing wrong, officer. So I think that happens a lot. And lucky for me, I didn't end up catching a case at that particular time. I did end up getting caught up in the system while being homeless, though.
Thank you. What would you, I'm going to go to the last question, if that's okay. What would you suggest should change with law enforcement and how they work with the unhoused, and including new ideas if funding was available?
I think police, first of all, needs to learn how to communicate. Sociology best for them, that they're not quite, I don't get the impression that they know how to interact with all walks of life. It's always a big me and a little you kind of scenario that police tend to carry with them. In San Jose, for more people are probably less apt to want to call the police than there are people. So the police are supposed to be there for our assistance and to protect us. And I think that they're so far away from that motto, to serve and to protect. We don't feel served or protected, so to speak. I need a communication or some kind of sociology courses, because they're not equipped to deal with all of us. That's just my personal opinion.
Thank you so much, Marcelina. I'm really grateful for your courage in sharing, and just to have met you. We just recently met, and I heard what you had to say, and I just was really excited to have more people hear that. So thank you, and I look forward to working with you more. So now I want to go to our second guest, or colleague who's presenting with me, Jackie Germain. Jackie, hi. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, good morning. My name's Jacqueline Germain. I'm 56 years old, currently homeless. I was on the streets for about 12 years and housed for almost 2 years, and with unfortunate incident, became homeless again. I was homeless at an older age in life. I worked at AAA Insurance as a claims adjuster for 20 years, and things happened in the early 2000s, and I ended up in my 40s being homeless in a motorhome. And that's basically where it began.
What has been your experience with law enforcement while you've been unhoused?
My experience with law enforcement was horrible. My situation was a little bit different than Penelope's. My husband and I were in a motorhome. Luckily, it wasn't as bad as being, in a tent down by the creek, but we were in the eye of the officers on a daily basis, and that was the difference between being able to hide and not seen down by the creek. And we were always even in a public parking lot somewhere, because we had to park somewhere, and there's really no place to go. We were harassed, I think, every single day for 10 years by the police, and I'm not exaggerating at all. Basically, we were an eyesore to the public. We were not supposed to be anywhere, but we were supposed to be. Where do we go? At that time, there were no places to park for motorhomes or anything like the services that are out there now that are beginning. So we just winged it, and it was a constant, daily thing. For one thing or another, it didn't matter what we were doing. We were always in the wrong place, always. We had so many incidences that they threatened to take the motorhome. It was crazy. It was very stressful. Anytime we saw an officer, it was somewhat like Penelope said, we thought that they were there to help us and to protect us or do something for us. And it was always the opposite. They were always trying to either take our motorhome from us, arrest one of us for whatever reason it would be. And there was never anything that we were doing other than being homeless. We had a situation where in the middle of the night, somebody came to our window and we realized there was like many guys, and they were cursing at us in our window. We were sleeping and they're telling us to get up, banging on the side of the motorhome. And my husband and I were pretty scared, and they're saying, they were swearing at us and saying, we're going to kill you. We were in a VTA parking lot, a park and ride, which we thought would be safer. And then we hear these loud bursts, and they had a knife, and they had punctured our tires on our motorhome. And that's a pretty sharp knife to be able to puncture a tire like that. So I got up, we were trying to jump up out of there and stuck in the bed and ran to the front of the motorhome, and I was going to run them over. But we couldn't get the motorhome started, so we didn't run them over. And then we realized that we were surrounded by gang members. And so we called the police and told them what was going on, and they said they would be out. Finally, the gang members left. They never showed up.
How's that happen?
Never. Within an hour, they called me back and said, "Ma'am, are you okay? Do you still need assistance?" And I said, "Well, I could be dead by now, but I'm fine. Thank you, but no thank you." And it was very scary because there were a lot of them, and they had knives, and they were threatening our lives. And I figured maybe if I would have said I was a single female by myself, they might have came, but I highly doubt that as well. That's just one thing out of many things that happened. They would enter our motorhome at 6 o'clock in the morning without knocking, with their guns drawn. That happened to us more than once, saying, "What are you doing in here? Oh, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. What do you think we're doing? We're sleeping. Why are you walking into my motorhome? Well, your door was ajar." They would come up with something like that would justify thinking that they're going to catch us doing something, and we were doing the same thing that anybody would do at 6 o'clock in the morning. And it was constant. They thought we were making drugs in our motorhome because that show came out with, I don't know, their motorhome and methamphetamine. So we were harassed by that. Many things. But it was every day.
And how do you think these experiences have impacted your ability to get housed and recover from being homeless?
Well, it's impacted me just as a human being, as to not being able to trust people that you think you're supposed to be able to trust. It's very difficult. We did have some good experiences as well. I have to say, we did have an officer that he hated us. And it came to a point where he ended up having a heart attack, and he realized that he almost died, and he realized that what he had turned into, the type of person that he had turned into. And he came to us and he apologized to us for everything that he'd ever done. And because he arrested me, I never thought that I'd ever go to jail in my life. And we were so hungry that I stole some yogurt. And it was a big one, and it was for me and my husband and my dog. We were all so hungry, and I got caught doing that because I wasn't really good at stealing. That wasn't my forte in life. But he arrested me because I didn't do my community service. So but when he came back to us, he realized how he was, and he wanted to change. And until this day, we've seen him on the streets, and he waves to us and stuff, and he's really nice. But and that's one of the ways that we did get housed, I have to say. It's because somebody from the San Jose Police Department nominated us for a program that they had. And believe it or not, they helped us get into the I so we could get our housing. The problem is when you're out there, you don't know where to go to contact a person that could help you get your housing. And so they came to us, which was like one of the best days of our lives. And that was due to the police department. Unfortunately, the majority of the time, it was a very negative experience.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because I think I'll come back to that in the solutions. And I'm glad that you had that experience, because I think that we could build upon that for sure. Last question, what would you suggest could change with how law enforcement works with unhoused, and including if there was funding available?
Well, it's hard to say because, I think that they get jaded when being on the streets and stuff, but where you're not a criminal because you don't have a home. You don't have a home, and they don't realize how hard it is to not have a home. I would never wish that on my worst enemy. It is very difficult. You have no place to sit. There's dirt there. That's it. They should be more compassionate rather than thinking that we are the enemy. The only time I ever broke the law really was because I was hungry, not because I'm a criminal. It's because I had no choice. And they need to understand that that's where people are coming from. And if they could put themselves in our shoes for a day, they would hate it. Anybody would hate it. There's nowhere to go when there's nowhere to go. And maybe some type of training, some type of, I don't know, but they need to understand that profiling is restricted. They're not allowed to profile, correct? I think that they profile homeless people, and they get you. And I think that maybe some type of training is how to deal with us. We're human beings. That's it. It should be innate, and you should know it already. Not everybody's a drug addict. Not everybody's a criminal. And people that are drug addicts is understandably so, because it's really hard out there. And maybe understanding mental illness as well. There's a lot of that with homelessness. And if you're not mentally ill when you start being homeless, you may be by the time you're done being homeless, So I think it's more of some type of a training program that they should be able to have. And it should be a program that everybody should have across the board, including the guys that sit in the offices, because they're just as bad.
Dispatches too.
That's what I think.
Thank you so much, Jackie.
Yeah, they're horrible.
Thank you. So hang out. I think there's a section where folks can ask questions. So if you don't mind staying, and we'll see what people want to know. But let me pull. I pulled down the screen because I wanted to see your faces. So let me pull the screen back up for the last slide, which is around solutions, right? Like that's what we're here to do, is to figure out how we can do something different. So. There are solutions. The number one solution is housing. Housing ends homelessness, and it's cheaper than criminalizing homelessness. On average, the top 10% most chronically homeless, so long time homeless, like high users of system services, costs an average. That's from the same study, and I'll put that in the references. Costs an average of around $85,000 a year per individual. To house someone is between $20,000 to $30,000 a year. It's just a clear no-brainer cost savings of $40,000 to $50,000 per person to house somebody. I think, along the lines of what we talked about, but really kind of thinking about how we could do something different. Let's convert first responders to situations that are happening for unhoused individuals in encampments or shelters, et cetera, on the streets, to outreach workers, trained outreach workers, peer outreach workers, medical and mental health professionals. We have some amazing outreach teams in Santa Clara County. The Valley Homeless Healthcare Project is an incredible group, cross-discipline, kind of medical focused group that has a lot of respect from the unhoused community, and can address mental health needs, medical issues, can house people, et cetera. Let's make that our first response. Removing laws and ordinances that criminalize individuals who are unhoused just for being unhoused. I listed earlier, there are definitely communities across the country that have more criminalized laws, but there's plenty here in San Jose and in Santa Clara County to work with. And there's some law firms that we have connections with that specialize in this. So I think one avenue for us to explore is to work with some law firms that focus on criminalization of homelessness, and work with the city specifically, and start working with our laws here locally and how we can make adjustments to help people. Another thing that we didn't really touch on in the stories, but is a very common root cause of homelessness in Santa Clara County, is that people are released very often directly from jail and prison back to homelessness or to housing that's unstable and not secured. And I think if we really believe fundamentally that, people who are incarcerated, that part of that is like doing your time, right? You've done your time as the punishment for what you did. We have to give people a fresh start and like an actual chance to have life and say, okay, like I want to, live life and be housed and get a job or do whatever people want to do. So that's a huge one that I think that we really can fundamentally bring our systems together with the court system, with the jail system. Here we have the ability to bring the right people to the table and think about that differently. Meet basic needs, right? Like how many of the experiences that we heard about or have talked about are just based on like getting food, using the bathroom, taking a shower, getting out of the elements, right? Just basic things that we believe, I believe that most people think are basic, human needs and functions. Let's meet those. Let's proactively provide services to people who are unhoused. And then, this was touched on a lot, but like every interaction with law enforcement, whether it's an officer out in the field or it's in the court system or it's, in the probation, is an opportunity to connect to services and housing and to say, hey, like, what's your situation? Are you still in house? Like, let's do something about that. Let's not just keep, saying, oh, well, we have the criminal justice system over here. I'm going to continue to monitor you for your probation. And, oh, it really sucks that you're still unhoused, and like, and keep thinking about these things in isolation. We have the ability as a system to really think of these things as holistic and solutions. And start addressing, what we believe at Destination Home, and our research shows that, criminal history, interactions with criminal justice system, incarceration is one of the primary root causes of homelessness. And again, exacerbated for people of color. So that's the core of what I want to share today. Happy to answer questions, but again, this is just scratching the surface and a preview, and hopefully to get us excited about what we might be able to do in this steering committee and really kind of solutions that we might be able to try things differently. So thank you. And thank you again for Marceline and Jackie for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marcelina, Jacqueline, and Chad. I really appreciate everyone giving their time and energy for these presentations. I think it was great, very, very insightful. I would like to open the floor to public comment or comment in general, and then we can ask the speakers questions. There are some guided questions on the screen here. How do we feel the information we've heard can directly tie to our work? What policy recommendations did you hear or you think will be meaningful in the community that we're focusing on today? And how does everything we've learned today define community safety? And I'll mute myself. I can raise hands. Yeah. Okay. Tarab.
Hello, everyone, and thank you today to our speakers, Marceline, Jacqueline, and Chad, for the really insightful presentation. I feel that the comments from those with lived experience are really insightful in figuring out where the solutions need to be. Something that really caught my ear was when you mentioned that what you need is not police coming to criminalize you, but you need services brought to you. Because so often it's difficult to access those services or even know what those services are to begin with. And that brought to mind a program that I researched in Olympia, Washington. So in Olympia, Washington, the police department got funding to create a peer outreach program. So they hired 2 peers with lived experience of homelessness in the area, so in Olympia, Washington. And they trained them in outreach, and the the intervention side of it, so how to interact and how assess. But then what they did is that they came up with a list of frequent flyers. So this was a list of people who very frequently contact with the police, and what they did was they introduced 2 peer outreach workers to these individuals who were unhoused. At first it was with the police, but then after the first meeting, it's independent, and so the peer outreach workers meet house persons in the field independently. And that was really beneficial in connecting and linking to resources. It was great as a way to help them meet their needs in a way that doesn't involve law enforcement and doesn't criminalize them. So I think that is something that I heard from this. And I'm on the alternatives to public safety subcommittee. So in my mind, I'm thinking about an alternative program. And so when I heard, what I hear is the needs, the main need is that you have basic needs to be met. And it would be better if those services are kind of brought to you because it's very difficult for you to access it. And so I think a peer outreach program like the one in Olympia, Washington is definitely something you could consider as a solution. Thank you again for your presentation.
Jamal?
Yeah, what's up, everybody? I really appreciated everything. And when Tarab talked about kind of his committee, his subcommittee, and I think about the one I'm on, reform, training, and accountability, I'm struggling to, I'm thinking about the last question, right? How does this kind of define safety? And I'm struggling to think about like what reforms come from the experiences that were described, because it really felt like they described kind of hopeless situations around their interactions with police, right? Like this targeting that was continual. And what were they supposed to do? They needed the police, but they also were being targeted by the police and I'm blanking on the word, but the police were constantly kind of looking at them and not thinking of them as just residents in this area, but nuisances. And I don't know what training or reform changes that. So I'm at a little bit of a loss for how to shift that. I know there's bias training. There's a lot of things. But thinking about what Tarab just said, I'm at a loss. I'd love to hear some other thoughts there.
Sandra and Darcy?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Sandra Asher. I want to agree with both what Tarab and Jamal brought up. Really great points and along the lines of what I was thinking. And I'm also on the accountability and reform subcommittee. And it's interesting to me that we repetitively in all of these stories and with most, many of the presenters and what I hear from the community is training is a solution. And I'm really wondering, is training the solution, or how do we get to the root cause of the behavior and the approach that we're seeing, and then change that mindset? Because again, I also keep hearing a perception that the police aren't part of the community. They approach the community as the enemy. And so how do we change that mindset within our police department? A few of us from our subcommittee are meeting with SJPD on Friday to talk about hiring practices. And one of the things I'm curious about is in our psychological screening process, what type of mentality are we screening in or screening out? And how does that impact the way our officers approach their role with the community? So just a few thoughts, thanks.
Yeah, good morning. Marcelina and Jacqueline and Chad, thank you so much for this presentation. Definitely takes a lot of courage to come and give testimony like that. And I'm just really honored that you would share that testimony with us here in this space. And so I'm on the Prevention and Promotion Committee, and something that stood out for me in both of your testimonies was this kind of like constant eyes of the police on you. So like there's increased interaction just by the nature of being unhoused. And so that increased interaction with the police led to increased interaction with the police. And so as I think about root causes, I purposely am in this committee because I'm not as interested in the reform aspects of it, but more interested in the how do we eliminate these unnecessary excessive interactions between the police and the community that ultimately lead to increased criminalization. And what Chad said in one of his comments was that like housing, right? Like housing, helping people to get out of the constant eye of the police is a really important solution toward this, and just how much more cost effective it is to house people than to incarcerate folks or to have them constantly having these interactions with police. So we know that's a very expensive way. And not only that, it's just not a very humane way to treat members of our community. And so I definitely want our committee to try to have a pillar that looks, specifically at housing, right? And how do we use or how do we get more involved with the current efforts that Destination Home has, and I know others in that coalition have, around just increasing housing for folks and making sure that we're having less interaction between and less eyes on people from the police. And I'm also just really, another thing that really stood out for me was this, that we've heard kind of in themes in many of the presentations that we've heard, or maybe even in all the presentations we've heard, and this idea that you can't trust people who you should be able to go to for help. And in fact, if you do call them for help, the police for help, you in fact run the risk of being arrested yourself. And that's just a really terrible and unhealthy power dynamic that the police have between vulnerable members of our communities, such as our unhoused population and other populations that we've heard from in presentations, where you in fact you have no other option but to call the police for safety. And in that, you may not ever hear from them, and you may hear from them, but you actually are also running the risk of being incarcerated or arrested or cited. And so what kind of protection do you have from that? And I don't know how you reform that, because that's a feature of the system of policing. So I'm not sure how you reform that. So for me, what continues to stick out is making sure all people have housing. Thank you again for these presentations.
Jacqueline, I see you have your hand up. Did you want to say something?
Wanted to comment on one of the things when it comes to the system, and once you're incarcerated, you have to remember that being arrested for a petty theft and things like that is extremely common in the homeless community. But once you've gone to jail for forever how long, and you're out, you still have to go back. You have to go back, and you have to go through the process of court and so on. And that's the reason, a big reason why a lot of homeless people continuously go back, get arrested, is because they never want to go back. They don't have a means to go back to court. They don't like the way they look. They don't, they never follow through. And so these warrants, these charges end up becoming warrants for their arrest. And so, you're always thinking anytime you have any contact, you're going to be arrested for sure. And likely they're going to search you, going to do certain things, and they may find something that they don't feel is correct for you to have. And then it brings you additional charges. So it's just a vicious cycle of adding on to something that was extremely, more or less, a lot of times a necessity, when you have no means to get food or money. Unfortunately, it's against the law, and I understand that. But the process for after that is lengthy, and most people will not go back to court because they don't even have the means to get there, or they're scared. They don't have anybody to advise them as to how to act, behave, things like that. And that's what keeps them going back and forth to jail as well. And I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you. Lori, did you want to speak next?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I'm also part of the accountability, and I wanted to tell the two ladies who testified to thank you for being brave enough to share your lived experiences, because it is important as impacted members of the community, myself as well, because my partner was killed by police. It's scary. And I know that being a voice for the rest of the homeless community, there has to be voices of the impacted. And I applaud you for having the courage to, say what's really going on in the streets, because the subculture of the San Jose PD has been rooted in a lot of racism and violence, and it needs to stop. And one way that we can, as a community, is educate each other on our constitutional rights, not on the city laws, because those laws are made up by the city. There's constitutional rights that we have that oversee, they are over the city laws that are really a violation of our constitutional rights. And that's where people, when you're educating, those rights, you can use it to defend yourself, because I'm sorry, but the police do not know the laws, the constitutional, all in depth. They know the penal codes for what local law, ordinances were implemented. And a lot of those laws and policies are implemented. They're not implemented to help, they're to criminalize people. And it's unfortunate because a lot of our law enforcement officers, the ones that are actually trying to do a good job, they are looked at in the eyes of the bad ones, because there's a lot of bad ones out there that have no business being on our force. And until we can change, do that paradigm shift, and make these officers have trauma training, have them empathy. None of them have, they always think they're above the law. And that's where they perpetrate. Everybody's a perpetrator. They're the perpetrators, really, because they see everybody as a criminal. They see everybody as doing something wrong. When they start shifting that perception of looking at people, somebody homeless, do you know why they're homeless? Do they even get to know the the people? Like, talk to them, find out their stories. Don't use their past records against them, because, there's a reason. People, the behavior of people, just like the cops, their behavior towards our community is so violent and so ready to criminalize, arrest, and do this, that it's wrong, because they don't see our community that are homeless. They don't see others that are different than them as human. They see them as criminals. And when they can shift that mindset and see it like, how would you want, if that was your family member, one of your family members ended up homeless for whatever reason, how would you want them to be treated? Like an animal, like they were worthless? No, you wouldn't. So you treat others as you would want to be treated yourself. And they can't seem to get that because they're not trained well enough. They're not trained 6 months, and most of it is to kill us, okay? So they need better training. They need to hire officers who have more education. And the thing is that until they start listening, when the officers are willing to sit across the table and take responsibility, like the one officer that had the heart attack, that's very important, that he realized all that hate and all that criminalizing of that family, that it caused him to get a heart attack. It's his. And then he realized, look, all this hate and all this anger, I've been violence towards this person, it affected my health, and was willing to say and accept responsibility and say, I'm sorry, and help. That's the right direction. But these officers don't know how to take responsibility. Number one is they have to learn to take responsibility, sit across the table from the people you've impacted and hear how it's impacted their lives. When they can see what they've done and how they've caused trauma to people, they don't hear it often enough. And when they realize that these are human beings and they left families traumatized, maybe then they will shift their mindset. But right now, their mindset, what they're trained to do is what is hurting our community. They're trained to kill. Now, if we take away their guns, these officers are going to have to learn communication. Learn how to fight with your hands. Like back in the days, if you were going to get in a fight at school, guys fought with their hands. Why aren't these cops learning how to fight with their hands? Take up boxing or whatever, get better training, not use weapons. That's, like if a real man fights with his hands, right? That's what we were all taught. You fight with your hands, not with weapons. And so if these guys want to be having weapons, officers, they should go out to the wars, go out there and fight the wars. They're out here on our streets looking like they're at war with us, and that's not right. And it's has to stop that. I mean, like better training, like Anthony Mata, I see you here. I've been trying to reach you, but let's talk with the impacted community. Don't be afraid to talk to us and see that it's not that you're being told, but this is things that needs to be changed. And if we really want change, it starts with the communicating with those most impacted, and don't let the city manager or the city attorney tell, oh, you can't talk to those people. Why not? That's what bothers me, is they always prevent progress, because they don't want to say something. So to the two ladies and to Shad for bringing these two ladies to bring this to attention, because it's the homeless community, it's the community, the mental health community, it's the police impacted community. Those communities that are impacted the most are the ones that should be at the forefront of these decision-making tables to make the difference, because they're the ones that are been impacted negatively and traumatized forever because of how the interaction with police are. And when the police are involved in that, then there's never going to be progress as long as police are having the say, because they're never going to want to be held accountable, or they don't want to change, So it's those of us that are impacted have to be at the forefront. Our words have to be at the forefront. So thanks.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you, Lori.
Jewel?
Thank you, and good morning to everyone. And thank you, Lori. That was a very eloquent presentation that you did. And also Jacqueline and Marcelina. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences. What I have heard and what appears to be pretty prevalent in D5, District 5. First of all, I'm the San Jose Neighborhood Commissioner for District 5. A lot of what I'm hearing this morning is also what I hear in D5. And I see that Chief Mata is here with us. Thank you, Chief, for attending. My suggestion, based on what I've heard, is that the root cause of what is happening is bias. And that's something we all have. We can't sit here and say, oh, well, no, I don't have bias. Everyone has bias about something, someone, someplace. We all have bias. So that's the first thing, is to recognize that there is bias. And it's definitely there in your force, Chief. And the screening process, as far as the screening process to screen in good cops or good police officers, maybe that needs to be looked at also. My career background is in recruiting and staffing. There are ways that candidates get around the vetting process. It's, something that they do. Let's talk to another police officer. Let's just call him the bad guy for now. Let's talk to the bad guy and figure out how to get around this vetting process so that we can get in and work with you. I don't know how your vetting process, well, let me rephrase that. The vetting process for San Jose PD, Chief Mata, hopefully has community members involved also in that screening process, because there are ways to get around. The other thing that I would like to leave people with this morning, based on what we have heard from Marcelina and Jacqueline and Lori, we have a situation here in San Jose that involves the unhoused. It overlaps with the Black community, the brown community. Every single time you step out of your home, your encampment, it is very exhausting to always have to live in a sense of heightened alert because of the color of your skin or the location that you live or your unhoused situation. Very exhausting every single day to step out and live in that heightened alert. Chief Mata, that is what I would leave you with. I am hopeful that you're able to take away one situation this morning. Look at what has been presented in terms of solutions. Look at one situation, go back to your office and expand upon that. Here's one thing that I can do this morning Maybe it's just talking to a couple of officers. I don't know, but just one thing that you could do to expand upon the solutions that have been presented this morning. And that's what I would leave you with, heightened alert. Please keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel and Darcy.
Thanks. One other thing popped up for me, and I don't know which committee this may be appropriate for, but it seems as though we may want to look at like what we're choosing to criminalize. Like if we can look at what the in-house population is being most likely to be arrested for and what type of like quote unquote crimes they are. When you think about like crimes are like what we determine as a society to be a crime at various states of the evolution of our society changes, right? It's kind of a changing goalpost. We've certainly seen that with marijuana. We've seen that with other things. We could make a decision that some of these things aren't worth criminalizing or should not be criminalized because we're just good people, right? Who should not be criminalizing people for being unhoused or needing to feed and keep a roof over their heads. So maybe we could also look at what are the top 3, again, quote unquote, crimes that people are being arrested for. And then maybe there's a way we could help them not be arrested for that or figure out a different solution for that. I'm thinking about, Jacqueline's story about just being hungry and trying to secure food. We could determine as a city that people shouldn't be hungry and determine that if you're unhoused and you need food and you're unable to get it in that desperate situation, there's an alternative for that. And so this is outside of my wheelhouse of what I have knowledge about, but I don't know what leeway officers have on what they can choose to arrest for and choose not to arrest for. But if there are choices and gray areas in that, maybe we can push for non-carceral responses to people who are hungry or looking for basic essential human needs. So I'm not sure what committee that would belong with, but whoever committee that would be, I hope maybe we can look at what we decide is a crime in our community and change it.
Thank you, Darcy. Sparky?
Hi there. I have a couple of comments. One about the training. I do believe that the new behavioral health community mobile response, the TRUST program, we know that new number, probably 50% of the calls that are going to go to those mobile response teams are going to be related to homeless issues. And I do think Uplift Family Services has the contract to provide those services in San Jose, and they're subcontracting somehow with Home First. I think where the training really needs to occur is those new teams. We need to make sure those teams know how to respond correctly, because we shouldn't just assume whoever they hired do. And Chad, that might be a place for the Lived Experience Board and your group to make sure that behavioral health program starts off correctly. They're supposed to be getting on board and starting January. I haven't heard anything about whether they're on time, but I would suggest that we really focus from the beginning on training those teams and who they hire also. So that's one piece. The other piece is what comes first, criminalization, homelessness, or what? Bill Wilson Center works a lot with youth in the criminal justice system, and we often find out and see our young people and young adults end up homeless because of their criminal record. They can't get jobs, they can't associate with certain people, so they can't be in their neighborhoods, so they end up becoming homeless. So it does end up being this cycle back and forth with justice involvement and homelessness. And I do think we need a deeper dive on that relationship between the criminal justice system, police, and our young people. Secondly, I must say, and I'm sure the police department knows this, Bill Wilson Center is constantly interacting with law enforcement coming to our programs looking to arrest somebody or to look for somebody. And this issue about safety and how clients feel safe or not safe with police involvement also is how our staff feels. When you're in a facility and you're surrounded by 10 police cars looking for somebody, my staff doesn't feel safe. And it's hard to hire people when they know they're constantly interacting with law enforcement, looking for clients or coming into our facility, usually with no warning whatsoever. So I do think this also needs to be looked at, Chad, because it's not just clients, it's how staff have to interact with law enforcement. So those are just my comments. I'm not offering any solutions except for the community mobile response. But I will tell you, our drop-in center, our staff, they're dropping like flies because they're just tired of the interaction around this.
Thank you. I just want to say really quickly, I really, again, appreciate our speakers. Thank you, Chad, for facilitating this conversation. Public safety for the in-house community is very intersectional, and it touches on so many different identities, race and equity, LGBTQ issues, women's issues, housing, drugs, or substance abuse. It's very intersectional, and I really appreciate hearing from people with lived experience. And thank you so much for that conversation. Would anyone else like to say another comment, or are we able to move on with our agenda? Okay, I think we can move on. Thank you so much again. What's the next slide? Subcommittee reports. Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna go in order. Oh, okay, never mind. I'm gonna go back. Okay. All right. So the steering committee is recommending Sandra Asher to serve on the steering committee to fill the vacancy left by Micah Estremera. Is there a motion?
I motion that.
Thank you. Is
A
there a
second.
discussion? Thank you. Is there a discussion? We'll now take, oh, sorry, yes,
Sorry, yeah, we're still in discussion, right?
yes.
Hi, this is Trobin. Sorry, I am a member on the panel. I'm also a member of the steering committee. I just wanted to say that Sandra has been really helpful. Even though she has not been on the steering committee, she has been really helpful in providing us with information, connecting us to people. And so, you know, for us, it's been a really valuable help, especially with Micah being gone. And so I just wanted to say that I was really grateful for her assistance.
I feel like I nominated Sandra for the steering committee when we first put it together. So this is just her. This was just, you know, delaying the inevitable. So I'm all for it.
We will now take a vote. Committee members who are panelists may vote by raising the raise hand feature. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Chris, are you keeping track of this?
Yes, I am. All right.
Okay, looks like I count 14 for yes.
Yes. Y'all just want to record for our minutes. Just give me 1 second. All right, 1 second. Sorry, you all. All right. Good. We have 14 in favor. The motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Chris. The next steering committee business is the steering committee is recommending Bob Nunez to serve on the Alternative Safety Response Subcommittee to fill the vacancy left by Micah. Is there a motion?
I moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion?
Yeah, this is Sparky. I just have a question. Do we need to elect people to subcommittees? It didn't seem like before we were actually voting on people for committees. They just volunteered and were placed on them. So I guess I just want clarification on how committee assignments are done.
Yeah, so at the very, if you remember several meetings ago, it was as a slate. So I gave it in that PowerPoint slide and then we voted. I believe it is the correct process, just for transparency. So we know who serves on the committee and, you know, there's a record that people agree and know that people are serving.
Okay, just clarifying, thanks. I see Chad's hand up.
Yeah, Chad, are you
Yes.
voting or are you wanting to speak?
Sorry, that was my vote from earlier. Sorry.
All those in, oh, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, I just had a question. Which committee is he serving on?
This would be Alternative Safety Response.
Okay, so Micah wasn't, that's the committee that I'm on, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because Micah wasn't on that committee, but this is just the one that he
This is the one that he wanted.
got it. Perfect.
And it's Mika.
Mika.
Sorry.
Got it.
Okay, we'll now take a vote. All those in favor? Chris, just let me know when you've got that.
Yes, we have 11, 4, and I apologize. We should have allowed space for individuals to vote against, and so hope you all suit my best motives. But let's lower your hands if you voted for, and then give people space for those voting against. Jim and Gabrielle, are you voting against? Just want to double check. All right. Okay, we have 11-4-0 against. The motion carries.
Thank you, Chris. Okay. The next thing on the agenda is an overview of the timeline. So this is just a reminder that this was the recommended timeline for producing and presenting recommendations. I'm not sure if people want to have a discussion around this timeline. It can definitely be adjusted depending on what people need. Yes, Tarab.
I was just wondering, when we say draft recommendations, have we as a committee agreed on a format yet for recommendations, how we're going to be formatting it? Because that would be helpful to know in drafting.
Yeah. Hi, Tarab. I love your subcommittee. You're the hardest to get a hold of, but but yes, I'll be forwarding the format. I believe I'm meeting with a few of you either this week or next week. So you all will get it. The other subcommittees have it.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on to subcommittee reports. The first one is a report from the Promotion and Prevention Subcommittee.
Nothing to report other than we're in the process of seeking out and drafting proposals.
Thank you. The next subcommittee is Police Accountability and Reform.
Hi, this is Sandra. As I mentioned before, we are meeting on Friday with SJPD to discuss hiring and evaluation, hiring practices, and still brainstorming ideas.
Thank you. The next is Alternative Safety Response.
This is Sparky. I think we're somewhat confused on exact date. It has to do with Darcy, and I know Darcy, you're here. I think we were going to keep our committee meeting to today at 4 p.m. if you can make it. So we really wanted a presentation from you.
I can make it.
So committee is then it's set today at 4. We're changing our committee meetings, Chris, so that might be why you've had trouble connecting with us, because with you changing these meetings, we've had to switch our meetings up a bit too. But I do know that we are in the process of doing these one-page papers on alternatives to present to the committee coming up. Tarab, Sammy, did you have anything to add to that?
Not me, that sounds good.
Nope. Yeah, that sounds good. We're just working on the one pages right now.
Thank you. I will now open the floor for public comment relating to the subcommittees. Chris, I'm not sure if there are people raising their hands. Can you see anyone?
I don't see any raised hands as of yet. Kiana, can I just make a quick note about the schedule?
Yes.
Just so you all know, and you noticed last week, the schedule is being modified. Of course, quite a few people take early Thanksgiving, and so last week we didn't meet for Thanksgiving. And of course, we'll be modifying again at the end of the year to make room for the holidays of the year. The whole schedule is in those emails I send out on Monday, and I've also sent out calendar invites. And so I hope that you're able to see those, put them in your calendar. If you don't use like an electronic calendar, that will accept those invites. And always, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you. We have time now for public comment for subcommittee. Oh, I see a hand. Mary?
And just a quick note before Mary speaks, if you are an English speaker, please make sure that you go into interpretation and select English. Okay, go ahead, Mary.
Ok, muy buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es María Inés Ortega y pertenezco a la Asociación de Vecinos de Cádila Winchester. Mi pregunta es, sé que nosotros de habla hispana sí entendemos el inglés, pero nos gustaría poder comentar un poquito más en las determinaciones que toman, porque a veces nosotros vemos, como decimos los hispanos, vemos la cara de la moneda en el tiempo de cómo estamos trabajando y entiendo la situación que han pasado, pero también nosotros tenemos la perspectiva. Yo como líder de la comunidad he trabajado mucho con la policía y entiendo que hay situaciones, porque recuerden que no todos los problemas son de la policía, son de todos, porque todos tenemos muchos problemas. No sabemos las personas que están viviendo afuera, el por qué se fueron, drogas, pandillas, a dónde estaban los papás, qué ayudas le proporcionaron a sus hijos, a sus familias. No toda la culpa es de la policía, también nosotros vemos lo que hemos vivido. Yo en lo personal amo mi comunidad y yo he sufrido muchas situaciones hace muchos años. Y en lo personal quisiera que nos tomaran en consideración porque somos personas de habla hispana y podemos comentar también todo lo que hemos pasado y cómo ellos nos han ayudado. Hay contras y pros, todos tenemos una situación difícil. Somos humanos, pero todos tenemos que poder entrar con ustedes. Tómenos parte de su grupo. Nuestra voz cuenta. También nuestra voz cuenta. Acuérdense que no importa el idioma, somos una sola comunidad, una sola familia donde debemos poder opinar. A lo mejor no tenemos el mismo, no podemos estar al mismo altura porque estamos aprendiendo todos, pero nuestra voz cuenta. Se los digo de corazón, yo aprecio mucho todo lo que están haciendo, pero tómenos en consideración porque somos nuevas, todavía no estamos seleccionadas, pero quiero que sea nuestra voz también contada con ustedes. Gracias.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes. Rosa? Rosa, you can make your comment if you'd like.
Hola, buenos días.
Hola.
No sé si me escuchan, ¿me escuchan?
Sí, se escucha.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Rosa Córdoba. Disculpen que hasta ahorita dé mi comentario, lo que pasa que tengo un poquito de flu. Bueno, realmente siempre nos hemos dado cuenta, yo como hispana, que las minorías somos las más afectadas. Nosotros los hispanos, pues siempre tenemos miedo a hablar a la policía porque sabemos que son, pues no vamos a generalizar que toda la policía es así, pero son racistas hacia las minorías y nosotros como hispanos, pues nos da miedo hablar, pero pienso yo que necesitan un buen entrenamiento todos los policías, todo el cuerpo policíaco, porque no es justo que generalicen a las personas. Creo que como comunidad, sabemos las leyes, respetamos, pero ellos no nos respetan porque yo como 6 años fui líder de la comunidad de Santí Y vi muchos casos de los cuales, hay veces que los policías no atienden el llamado como debe ser, no los dejan hablar, no le dan seguimiento al problema. Entonces, a veces entre el miedo y la desconfianza, pues ya mejor la gente se queda callada. Ya cuando el problema está grave, pues trata uno de mejor alejarse porque el problema se hace más grande. Entonces, no es posible que de quien nosotros nos tengamos que sentir seguros, tengamos miedo. Entonces, pues ese es mi comentario. Gracias por escucharnos y gracias por estar aquí. Disculpen mi voz que anda un poquito mala. Gracias, buen día.
Gracias, Rosa. Can I ask a question? Chris, Kiana, can I ask a question? I'm curious to know, I see Chief Mata's on here. What Chief
Lori,
Mata, huh?
Lori.
Huh?
Yeah, Lori, let her finish the translation. You can jump in, Lori.
Okay.
Thank you. Rosa, did you have another comment or is your hand still up from before? Rosa, you can speak if you are able to. Looks like Rosa is connecting to audio. Let's try it again. Rosa, are you there? Okay, while Rosa is connecting, Lori, did you want to continue what you were saying?
Yeah, I just was wondering, Chief Mata being here and all, like what has he gotten from the testimonies that he's heard, and what are some of the things that you got from it? Like what things are the stuff that you're going to go back and look on with your police department from what you heard from the people who presented today, what Rosa said? How are you going to take this back to your police department? Like what are some of maybe 3 things that you can that you took from these testimonies today and are going to go back to your police department and try to work on those? I'm just.
Thank you, Lori, for that question. I attend these meetings to learn and hear from the community, and that's the purpose for this, and to listen and to help facilitate and coordinate with the committees, right? Any contact that is needed with the San Jose Police Department to help you form recommendations. So other things that when I attend, I listen to see how we can do better. I heard your comment about listening to the impacted families. I have. And I understand that the comment that you made that you're waiting for me. I'm also waiting for you, and I'm here open, still waiting to speak with you, Lori. But I think today's presentation I got is the root causes of why the police respond to homelessness or homelessness calls. And Sparky had mentioned about the trust program. I'm interested in that. How that will, how the county can respond to those calls and not involving the law enforcement. I also heard empathy, that officers need to be more empathetic to situations and to individuals here in our community. And then finally, training, right? How that looks like. So those are the three. Obviously, there's more because I've been taking notes. But just to answer your question, that's what I got from today's meeting.
Thank you, Chief Mata. Are you having any intent on trying to have the officers to be trauma informed, trained to be able to see people in our community through a lens of trauma?
Yes, our department is currently completing trauma-informed care training, started almost a year ago. So that's something that we're continuing to do.
Thank you. Do you think it would be possible for me or like impacted family members to share with your police department, maybe your cadet, the officers are training to show them that trauma in the aftermath? Because I don't think officers realize how their interactions with people and what they do and how it affects people, the families in the aftermath. Like when a person gets killed, like Antonio got killed, the trauma in the aftermath that it's caused Josiah, maybe if officers are realizing how it impacts innocent children, they'll learn to think of people as humans and that person might be a father and son or, stuff. So they can change that perception that everybody's a threat and see everybody as human, because the trauma, there's so many kids in our community that are left fatherless and who will never look at officers as people who will protect them, but the monsters in their dreams that took their fathers and mothers or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's I think 2 officers from San Jose PD ever realized and told me they never even thought about what happens to the family after the fact that they took somebody's life. They never, that's not trained, that's not put in their head. Like every interaction, there's going to be a reaction, there's going to be trauma, there's going to be other stuff that happens. So how do you guys prevent trauma from happening and repeating that cycle of violence towards the community and start taking a different perspective from the trauma, but also to hear the trauma? I think that if officers were to hear the trauma they've caused, and especially to innocent children, because you guys are all parents too, that maybe that'll change that paradigm shift of thinking, the community is a threat to you guys, because it's the other way around. So I would love to go and share about Josiah and the families that I work with, because this year we have 83 children that I'm having a Christmas program for who've been left fatherless, and holidays are hard for the families. And that's why I do this for them. So there's 83 children that our community needs to be aware of throughout, I would love to, I tried to call the number that you gave me and it says it's disconnected. So I don't know how, but you have my email, so you could email me. Thank you.
Okay.
Turab.
Thank you. Thank you. I had a question for Chief Mata, and I don't mean to put you on the spot. So if this is a question that requires you to come back after some consultation, I understand that. But I was just wondering, Trust, as Sparky mentioned, is a county level program. So it's run by the BHSD and the agency that are contracted to run it at the county level. And this committee is at the city level, San Jose City. And so we cannot make recommendations on the side of Trust to say that the Trust should do something. What we can do is say that we can make recommendations on how the police links people they interact with to Trust. And so my question to you then is, can the SJPD, when they get a call for somebody who's having a behavioral health crisis, because I know that this SJPD has the MCAT program. So say an MCAT officer is sent out, can they ask for Trust? Is it possible to implement a policy that says that MCAT must call Trust for nonviolent calls? Because Trust is designed for nonviolent calls relating to a behavioral health crisis. So I was wondering if you may be able to speak to that.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Ansari. The first time I've heard of Trust was in this committee. So we're yet to hear from the county as to how this program is going to work and how it's going to impact us and how we can partner with them. So I'm also very interested in how that's going to work, how we can partner with them, and how we can divert those calls, as you mentioned. That's something that will be beneficial, especially if they're nonviolent calls. So yes, I'm waiting to hear how that program works and how we can participate, how we can facilitate those calls. If someone here has a point of contact for that program that they can share with us or share with me, so I can get the city also involved, because it involves training, just like it's being discussed today, right? How do we look at those calls? What information do we need to ask to divert those calls? And then obviously train our 911 operators or whomever is making the referrals as to how this program is going to work and what resources are available and how that's, again, the interaction they're having with the city and its residents.
Well, Sparky and me have been working with the Trust community. And I think Bill Wilson's going to be one of the call centers, right, Sparky?
Just to complete my comment, Chief Mata, I have the point of contact with the Behavioral Health Services Department, the program manager who's in charge of Trust, and so I can provide you with their contact. And I think the alternative subcommittee was very interested in actually having both a representative from the SJPD and a representative from the Trust program to come and speak. I kind of have a listening session that allows everybody to kind of understand what's going on. And so I think that is something we will come to you about in the coming weeks.
That sounds great. Thank you for that.
Is there any more public comment? People like to raise their hands? I don't see any public comment requests.
Correct. There are currently no raised hands.
Okay, yes, Terrell.
Move to adjourn meeting.
Again.